The wind on planet Alara 9 howled across the empty canyon, carrying dust that shimmered under twin suns. A human man named Ethan Cole walked carefully between broken metal pieces that once belonged to a crashed alien shuttle. His old exploration suit was scratched and half-patched with tape, but his eyes were sharp. He had seen many wrecks before, but this one was different. Smoke rose from twisted panels and a faint light blinked near a shattered cockpit window. He moved closer. The wreck still hissed with heat. Ethan crouched, pushing aside shards of metal until he saw movement. Someone was inside. Through the cracked glass, he saw a woman, silver-skinned and bleeding from a long cut on her shoulder. She wasn't human. Her face was smooth and glowing faintly like moonlight, her hair pale blue and tangled with wire. She was trying to push herself free, but her legs were trapped beneath the console. Ethan shouted, "Hold still! I'll get you out." She turned her head weakly, eyes glowing faint gold. Her lips moved, but no words came out, just a low hum like an energy pulse. Ethan didn't wait. He pulled his plasma cutter from his pack and began slicing through the twisted frame. The smell of burning metal filled the air. Each second felt longer as sparks danced around him. The wreck trembled once, threatening to collapse. Finally, the last beam gave way. Ethan grabbed the woman and pulled her free just as the cockpit roof gave in. They fell together into the dust. She coughed, breathing harshly. Her body was lighter than he expected, fragile, almost weightless. "You're safe now," Ethan said softly. She blinked slowly, studying him. Her voice came in broken words, accented and strange. "Human, why save me?" Ethan looked around. The nearest settlement was miles away, and night would bring freezing storms. "Because you were alive," he said simply. "That's reason enough." He carried her to his rover, wrapping a thermal blanket around her trembling body. As he started the engine, he caught a faint glow spreading under her skin, veins of light running like rivers. Her eyes closed as she whispered something in her language, soft and melodic. Ethan didn't understand, but it sounded like a prayer. The drive back to his shelter took an hour. By then, the alien woman had passed out from exhaustion. He gently placed her on his bed inside his outpost, a small metal cabin half buried in sand. The walls hummed faintly with the life support system, and outside the wind roared like an ocean. Ethan cleaned her wounds with steady hands. The alien tissue was different. It shimmered when the antiseptic touched it, almost rejecting the substance. He used sterile foam instead, sealing the deep gash across her shoulder. She flinched but didn't wake. When she finally opened her eyes, it was night. The stars of Alara 9's system burned bright through the glass ceiling. Ethan sat across from her, adjusting the portable heater. She looked at him with confusion, then at the bandages on her arms. "You fixed me," she said in a low voice, the translator on her wrist clicking softly as it processed her words. "You risked your life for a stranger." Ethan gave a tired smile. "It's what we humans do sometimes." She tilted her head, studying him with interest. "Your kind is said to be dangerous. War makers. Yet you helped me." "Maybe both can be true," he said. Her gaze softened. She sat up slowly, clutching the blanket around her. "My name is Lyra. was a scout of the Aurelian fleet. We came to study your worlds. We did not expect this storm." Ethan nodded. "That explains the crash. This planet's magnetic storms mess with navigation. You're lucky I found you." "Or unlucky," she whispered, staring at the fire core glowing in the corner. "If my people learn I survived and that a human saved me, they will say I'm unclean." Ethan frowned. "Unclean? For being rescued?" Lyra looked down. "Our laws forbid contact with humans. We call your kind the burned ones. You survive on death worlds. Your blood is too strong. They fear you." Ethan let out a quiet laugh, but not one of amusement. "Yeah, I've heard worse." For a moment, silence hung between them. The heater hummed and the wind pressed against the walls. Lyra's golden eyes flickered as she watched him. There was curiosity there, something new, like seeing fire for the first time. "You're alone here," she said softly. "I like it that way," Ethan replied. "After the war, I didn't have much reason to stay anywhere else." Lyra tilted her head again as if she didn't understand how someone could choose loneliness. "You have no mate? No family?" He shook his head. "No one waiting for me." She stared at the floor for a long time before whispering, "Then perhaps we are the same." Ethan didn't know what to say to that. Through the night, Lyra's body temperature dropped dangerously low, Her species wasn't built for cold, and despite the heater, her skin began to lose its glow. Ethan quickly wrapped her in more blankets and moved closer, giving her his own warmth. She trembled lightly, eyes half open. "You shouldn't help me like this," she murmured. "Our kinds cannot mix." "Then it's a good thing I don't follow your rules," Ethan said quietly. He didn't sleep that night. The alien woman's breathing slowly steadied. Her heartbeat, a faint pulsing hum, echoed softly through the silence. When morning came, she was sitting up again, staring at him with a strange expression. "You stayed awake to guard me," she said. Ethan nodded. "Couldn't risk you freezing." Her hand reached out slowly, fingers brushing his sleeve. "In my world, that act has meaning," she whispered. "It is something a bondmate does." He froze. "A what?" "A life partner," she said. "When one gives warmth and protection through the dark." Ethan blinked. "It's just basic care where I'm from." She smiled faintly. "Not to me." For the next few days, Lyra recovered under his care. She ate the food he prepared, mostly rehydrated meals and native fruits, and seemed fascinated by every small thing he did. She asked about Earth, about the wars, about the stars. In return, she told him of her world of crystal seas and floating gardens, where no one ever raised their voice and peace was law. Ethan listened, almost jealous of such a place. Yet he saw sadness in her when she spoke, as if peace had cost something precious. On the third evening, a strange signal reached the outpost. Static and faint voices. Lyra went pale. "That is my fleet," she said. "They are searching for survivors." Ethan checked the transmission console. "They're close. I can boost the signal and call them in." But she didn't answer right away. Her hands trembled slightly. "If they find me here with you, they will take me away. They will erase this memory from my mind." Ethan stared at her, confused. "Erase it? Why?" "Because they cannot allow me to remember kindness from a human," she said bitterly. "It would change everything." She stood and took his hand suddenly. Her skin was warm now, her eyes bright with emotion. "Ethan, you risked your life for me. You gave me warmth. You gave me trust. In my people's way, that is a bond stronger than blood." He shook his head. "Lyra, you don't owe me anything." But she stepped closer, voice trembling. "Then let me owe you everything. In my world, when someone saves another's life, they are bound. I want to be bound to you." He blinked, stunned. "You mean Mary?" Her eyes glowed softly. "Yes." Outside, thunder rolled through the canyons. The wind screamed as if warning them both. Ethan looked into her golden eyes and saw something real, something beyond fear, beyond difference. She wasn't joking. He sighed slowly. "Lyra, I don't think your people would agree." "Then let them not," she said firmly. "I have made my choice." Ethan didn't answer right away. His heart pounded as the alien woman stood before him, fragile yet strong, her voice trembling with both fear and courage. In that silent moment, he realized something out here on a forgotten world. No rule or fleet could decide for them. Only two souls had found each other in the endless dark, and that was how it began. The bond between a lone human and an alien woman who once called him forbidden. The storm outside grew worse through the night. Dust clouds rolled like waves, shaking the walls of the outpost. Ethan reinforced the door and checked the power cells twice, but part of him wasn't thinking about safety anymore. His mind stayed on Lyra's words. She had asked to be bound to him, her voice trembling but sure. No one had ever said anything like that to him before. He sat by the heater, watching her as she rested. Her breathing was calm now. Her pale blue hair spread across the blanket like mist. Even in sleep, her glow had softened the small metal room, giving it warmth no machine ever could. When morning came, the storm had calmed a little. Ethan stepped outside in his oxygen mask, scanning the horizon. The wreck site was still smoking in the distance. A faint shimmer showed on the radar, probably her fleet's drones searching for survivors. He knew he didn't have much time. Inside, Lyra was awake and sitting near the window. She was staring at the pale sky as if she could see her home through it. When Ethan came in, she turned to him with quiet sadness in her eyes. "They are close," she said. "I can feel their signal through my implant." Ethan nodded. "Then we need to plan what you'll do when they find you." Her gaze held his. "You mean what we'll do?" He froze. "Lyra, if they take you, I can't go with you. They'd arrest me before you could speak." She stood and came closer, her hand reaching for his. Her skin was cool and soft. I do not want to leave you. You gave me life when I had lost it. You gave me trust when my own people would have left me to die. That means something. Ethan tried to smile. It means you met a stubborn human who can't walk away from someone in trouble. She shook her head slowly. No, it means something greater. On my world, we do not marry for politics or power. We marry for choice, for a bond made by heart. He looked into her eyes and saw a light there that no translator could explain. He didn't know what to say. That day passed quietly. Ethan repaired the water recycler, pretending to be busy while Lyra walked around the shelter, touching everything as if memorizing it. She asked about the small plant growing in the corner, a cactus he had brought from Earth. You keep this alive in such a hard place, she said softly. Why? Because it's tough, Ethan answered. Doesn't need much, just a little care. She smiled faintly. Like you, he laughed under his breath. Maybe. Later they shared a meal together. She watched how he ate, copying his motions with slow curiosity. She had never tasted human food before. It is strange, she said, but it makes me feel grounded. It's the salt, he said with a grin. We humans need it to survive. Her golden eyes lingered on him, and something inside him shifted. He felt a warmth he hadn't felt in years, like he wasn't alone anymore. That night, as the temperature dropped again, Lyra grew quiet. She sat near the heater but didn't speak. Ethan sensed her worry. You're thinking about your people again, he said. She nodded. They are proud. They believe our kind must never depend on others. But I depended on you. That is forbidden. Then let them think what they want, Ethan said. You're alive. That's what matters. She looked at him then, her expression soft but full of strength. If they erase my memory, will you still remember me? He felt his chest tighten.
Of course I will. Then I want something before they come, she whispered.
Something that cannot be erased. He hesitated, unsure what she meant. But she stepped closer, placing her hand gently over his heart. We call this the soul mark, she said. A promise made in truth. It is not binding in your laws, but in mine it is forever. Ethan nodded slowly, unable to look away. Then I accept. Her palm began to glow faintly, warm light spreading between them. It didn't hurt. It felt like a soft pulse, as if their hearts were matching rhythm. When she pulled her hand away, a faint mark glowed on his skin, a small golden circle fading slowly into his flesh. It is done, she said softly. What does it mean? He asked. It means that wherever I go, a part of me stays with you, and if I live, I will feel your heartbeat across the stars. He didn't speak for a long time. Outside, the wind died down, leaving only silence. The next day, the scanner picked up movement. A formation of 3 ships appeared on the horizon, silver and sleek. Lyra's fleet had found them. Ethan felt a knot form in his chest. They're here, he said quietly. Lyra's hands trembled. They will not let me speak to you. Once they see a human here, they will take me by force. Ethan checked his weapons out of old habit but didn't lift them. He wasn't going to fight them. He just didn't want to lose her. When the ships landed, bright light flooded the canyon. Soldiers in silver armor stepped out, their faces hidden behind smooth visors. One of them shouted something in Aurelian, ordering Lyra to approach. She turned to Ethan. Do not interfere, she said. Please. He stood still, watching as she walked forward. She looked small beside the armored soldiers, yet her back stayed straight. One officer scanned her with a glowing device, then looked at Ethan sharply. You made contact with a human, he said through the translator. His tone was cold. That is violation of the Inner-World Code. Lyra lifted her chin. He saved me. I would be dead without him. That does not matter, the officer said. You will be cleansed and returned to duty. Ethan stepped forward. She's not your prisoner. Let her choose. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Lyra lifted her hand. Stop, she commanded. Her voice carried strange authority, and they froze. You will not harm him. Lyra, the officer began, but she cut him off. I have made my decision. He is my chosen. Under Aurelian right, I claim life bond. The officer's visor tilted. You cannot bond with a human. That is forbidden. Then let the law break, she said firmly. I will not let you erase my soul. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the officer lowered his weapon slightly. You will come with us now. The council will decide your fate. Lyra looked back at Ethan, eyes shining with emotion. I will come back, she said. He shook his head. Don't make promises you can't keep, but she smiled softly. I made a mark on your heart. I will find it again. They took her aboard one of the ships. Ethan stood in the dust, watching as the engines roared and the silver crafts lifted into the sky. The sound faded until only silence remained. The canyon felt colder than ever. Days passed. Ethan worked mechanically, fixing his rover, repairing the walls, pretending not to feel the emptiness inside. Every night he stared at the small golden mark on his chest. Sometimes it glowed faintly when the wind was still. Then one night his radar caught a faint signal, a pulse matching the rhythm of a heartbeat. Not from Earth, not from any human frequency. It was hers. He leaned closer to the console. "Lyra?" he whispered. No answer came, only a repeating pulse. Steady, alive. He felt hope spark inside him again. He began decoding the signal, tracing its origin. It wasn't far. Somewhere beyond the canyon ridge, maybe a hidden base or distress beacon. He didn't know what she had done or how she had escaped, but the signal meant she was still fighting. The next morning, he packed supplies, loaded his rover, and drove toward the signal's coordinates. The road was rough, filled with broken rock and deep dust. The twin suns burned above him, but he didn't stop. When night came, he reached a narrow cave with strange energy readings. Inside, he found a small device shaped like a crystal sphere. It pulsed with golden light. When he touched it, Lyra's voice filled the air. "Ethan," her voice said softly. "If you are hearing this, I am alive, but far. They took me to the capital world for judgment. Do not come after me. They will call you dangerous. They will call you cursed. But I know the truth. You are my bond. I will find my way back." The message ended, leaving silence and the fading glow of the crystal. Ethan closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he smiled. He looked out at the endless desert sky where thousands of stars burned. Somewhere among them, she was thinking of him. And the golden mark on his chest pulsed once more, as if answering her across the light years. He whispered into the wind, "I'll be waiting, Lyra." The stars above seemed to flicker in reply. Lyra's ship hummed as it passed through the upper atmosphere of the capital world. Inside, she sat restrained but unbroken. Her hands rested lightly on the console, but her mind raced. The council would convene soon. Their judgment could erase everything she had felt, the warmth, the trust, the bond she had made with Ethan. The soldiers guarding her were silent, but their movements were sharp, precise. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. "You realize the penalty for human contact is permanent reassignment and memory recalibration?" he said. Lyra's eyes flashed. "Do your worst. I have made a choice." The officer's visor tilted slightly. "A choice that could cost your honor." "Honor is meaningless without freedom," she replied firmly. The ship landed in a courtyard of shining crystal spires. The guards led her through vast halls, echoes of her footsteps bouncing against polished floors. Every step reminded her of the life she had left behind, the skies of her homeworld, the floating gardens, and now, a human who had risked everything for her. At the chamber entrance, she paused. Inside, the council waited, tall figures with flowing robes of silver and gold, their faces hidden behind intricate masks, turned slowly as she entered. "Lyra of the Scout Fleet," one spoke, voice smooth and echoing. "You have violated the interworld code by bonding with a human. Explain yourself." She lifted her chin, standing tall despite exhaustion. "I was dying. He saved me. I trusted him. That bond is not against my will. It is the truest choice I could make." A ripple passed through the council. One of them, higher than the rest, spoke. "The bond you speak of is forbidden. Humans are considered unworthy, dangerous, and impure. You risk dishonor to yourself and the fleet." "I would risk anything for truth," she said, voice steady. "He did not save me for reward nor for glory. He saved me because he could. That is honor greater than any law." Another council member hissed, disbelief in her tone. "You defy centuries of law. Your memory will be cleansed if necessary. Your rank will be stripped. Your duty erased." Lyra's golden eyes narrowed. "If you touch my memory, you erase me. I will no longer be Lyra. But the mark I made on him, that cannot be taken. He will remember me, and that is enough to defy you." The chamber fell silent. Whispers echoed behind masks. No one expected courage like hers from a single scout. Finally, the highest voice spoke. "You leave us no choice. You will be held until the judgment ritual is complete. If the council rules against you, your memory will be reset. Do you understand?" Lyra nodded. "I understand." but my choice remains mine. She was led to a high tower room, its walls glowing softly with stored energy. It was a holding place, designed for meditation and evaluation. She was alone, except for the faint hum of life support. Her mind returned to Ethan. She closed her eyes, feeling the golden mark pulse faintly beneath her skin. It was like a heartbeat across distance, a tether she could not sever. She whispered his name, feeling the warmth of his hands, the steadiness of his presence. Meanwhile, on the desert canyon of Alara 9, Ethan studied the crystal sphere that had transmitted her voice. He had traced the faint signal to the capital world, a place he had no business going. His instinct screamed danger, yet he could not ignore it. Packing supplies was quick. Weapons, energy shields, life pods, and rations all went into his rover. He glanced one last time at the small outpost. Memories of the days spent with Lyra pressing against his chest. She had made her choice, and now it was time for him to make his own. The journey through the canyon to the launch site was treacherous. Dust storms, unstable cliffs, and shifting rocks threatened to overturn his vehicle. Still he pressed forward, determination driving him beyond fatigue. Each mile he thought of her golden eyes, the mark they shared, and the promise she had made. Finally, he reached the hidden shuttle he had repaired months ago. Its engines purred to life. The liftoff was smooth, but outside storm clouds loomed over the horizon, striking lightning across the twin suns. Ethan gritted his teeth and pushed the shuttle into orbit, leaving the desert world behind. Lyra, in her tower, sensed movement in the energy flows around her. She felt the pulse of a human vessel approaching, a foreign heartbeat entering the orbit near her world. Her eyes widened, disbelief mingled with hope. Could it be him? In orbit above the capital world, Ethan adjusted the shuttle's trajectory, scanning for defensive satellites. The fleet had strict anti-intrusion protocols, but he was prepared. Stealth tech, EMP pulses, and evasive maneuvers allowed him to slip past initial defenses, each movement precise, each decision calculated. Inside her room, Lyra felt the presence grow stronger. A soft vibration, a resonance she could not ignore. She pressed her hand to the crystal mark on her chest and felt it pulse in response. Her lips moved silently, a prayer, a wish, a call across the void. Ethan's shuttle landed on the lower terraces, hidden among reflective spires. He cut the engines and remained still, listening. There it was, a faint pulse from her mark. He could feel it across space, guiding him like a beacon. Lyra's guards checked her every hour, unaware of the human intruder approaching. She paced quietly, sensing movement in the corridors. She whispered, "Ethan," and the mark responded, brightening faintly under her skin. Ethan moved carefully through the terraces, disabling surveillance nodes and avoiding patrols. The building's crystalline architecture reflected light in strange angles, confusing the sensors. Yet the pulse remained strong. He followed it, climbing stairs and hopping gaps in the corridors, determination fueling every step. Finally, he reached the high tower room. The door was sealed with energy barriers. He activated his portable device, cutting through the lock with quiet precision. The hum of the barrier faded, and he stepped inside. Lyra turned at the sound of the door. Her eyes widened. "Ethan," she whispered, half hope, half disbelief. He ran to her, stopping just short. "I'm here," he said. "I came for you." She smiled, tears forming in the corners of her golden eyes. "You shouldn't have." "The council." "Forget the council," he said firmly. "I don't care what they say. You're not going anywhere without me." Guards poured into the room as the intrusion alarm screamed. Energy beams sliced the air. Ethan grabbed Lyra, pressing her close. "Hold on," he shouted, activating his shield. The force field flickered as it absorbed energy blasts, bending light around them. Lyra's eyes glowed as she raised her hands. She whispered an incantation in her native tongue, sending a wave of controlled energy that staggered the guards. "Go," she cried. They sprinted through the corridors, the shuttle signal guiding them to the terrace. Ethan's shield flickered, energy low. Lyra grabbed his hand, the bond mark glowing brightly. Together they ran, each pulse from their mark synchronizing their hearts. Outside, the shuttle waited. Ethan helped her inside. Guards fired, energy beams striking the shuttle's hull, leaving scorched marks. He gritted his teeth and pressed the thrusters. The engines roared. The shuttle lifted into the sky, dodging and weaving through incoming fire. Lyra clung to him, whispering, "You saved me again." "I told you," he said. "I don't walk away." They reached orbit, the capital world shrinking beneath them. The pulse from her mark dimmed as they gained distance, but the connection remained. Lyra looked at him, golden eyes bright, and whispered, "You are my bond, always." Ethan reached over and squeezed her hand. "And you're mine." As the stars stretched around them, the shuttle jumped into faster-than-light travel. Behind them, the capital world disappeared into the darkness. Ahead, unknown galaxies waited, but neither cared about the distance, the dangers, or the rules. They had each other, and that was all that mattered. The golden light of dawn spilled across the horizon, painting the canyon in soft shades of orange and pink. Ethan stood at the edge of the outpost, staring at the distant mountains where Lyra's signal had disappeared days ago. He had spent hours decoding her last message, tracing every flicker, every pulse of the crystal device she had left behind. She had told him not to come, that it was too dangerous. Yet the thought of leaving her fate in the hands of her people without trying to reach her was impossible. He checked the rover, ensuring every system was functioning. Supplies were packed, weapons secured, though he didn't intend to use them unless forced. His mind wasn't on conflict. It was on the possibility of seeing her again, on the golden mark glowing faintly on his chest, reminding him that she was out there, alive, thinking of him as he thought of her. The journey to the capital world of her people was treacherous. The path wound through jagged rocks, across deep sand valleys, and under skies where twin suns burned relentlessly during the day and froze the land at night. Ethan drove without pause, taking only brief rests. Each night he studied the stars, imagining her looking at them too, somewhere among the alien towers and floating platforms of her homeworld. When he finally approached the planetary capital, the sheer size of it took his breath away. Towers of translucent crystal rose into the sky, floating platforms linked by glowing bridges. Ships of all shapes and sizes hovered in neat formation. The city hummed with energy, alive and vibrant. Yet despite its beauty, a sense of tension lingered. Security patrols in sleek silver armor moved with precision, scanning for intruders. Ethan ducked behind a ridge, watching. He could see her now, walking among the council guards, her pale blue hair tied back neatly, her golden eyes alert and wary. She paused suddenly, glancing upward. For a moment, their eyes seemed to meet across the distance. Her lips moved, but no sound reached him. Then she was taken inside one of the tallest crystal towers, disappearing from view. Ethan's heart pounded. There would be no simple rescue here. He would need a plan. The night brought shadows, and with it, a chance. Ethan moved quietly, using the cover of darkness to approach the perimeter. The guards' patrols were precise, but not perfect. He slipped past the first sensors, careful to avoid the glowing beams that crisscrossed the walls. Inside, the corridors were vast, lined with panels of light and shimmering crystals that reflected faint golden hues. Every step made his heart beat faster. He had never felt such tension, such anticipation. He found a side chamber empty except for a large platform overlooking the council hall. Through the crystal walls, he could see Lyra seated in the center of the council, her hands folded calmly in her lap, though her eyes were sharp and focused. Around her sat the council elders, their heads glowing faintly as they spoke in a low, resonant tone. Ethan couldn't understand the words, but the expressions told him everything. They were judging her. One elder rose, pointing toward the city's exit. Lyra shook her head, her posture firm. She spoke, her voice steady, and the translator embedded in the chamber activated. "I chose him. I will not abandon that choice. I will accept no memory cleansing. I will accept no punishment that erases my truth." A murmur ran through the council. The eldest member rose, towering above the others, his voice deep and commanding. "You defy the interworld code. You choose a human, a being forbidden to our kind. Your actions risk dishonor to your family, your fleet, and our law." Lyra's gaze didn't waver. "My bond is not dishonor. My choice is life and truth. You may punish me, but you will not erase my heart. I will not obey fear." The council fell silent. Ethan watched, tense, as a few elders whispered among themselves. Then a voice rang out, "We will see if he is worthy." The chamber doors slid open and guards moved to remove Lyra. She stood, facing them calmly, as though ready for battle yet unafraid. Ethan's decision was instant. He would not wait. He found the main lift shaft and moved quickly, climbing the vertical tube with careful precision. Sparks from the maintenance panels lit his path as he ascended, hand over hand, higher and higher. At the top, he found a small maintenance corridor leading to the council chamber. Guards approached, but Ethan acted fast, using a distraction to slip past them. He reached the chamber's main floor just as the council prepared to begin the judgment. Lyra's eyes met his again. Relief, surprise, and joy flickered across her face. She whispered softly, "Ethan?" He smiled faintly. "I'm here. I promised I wouldn't leave." Her golden eyes widened as he approached. One of the council elders moved to stop him, but Lyra stepped forward. "He is my bond. You have no authority over my choice." The elder's voice rumbled. "You risked your people's safety. He is human, dangerous, unknown. You bring him here without consent." Lyra's voice was firm. "I bring truth. He saved me. He gave me life. That is worth more than fear. That is worth everything." Ethan stood beside her, feeling a surge of protectiveness and awe. For a moment, the council seemed unsure how to respond. The air was tense, every light on the walls flickering as if waiting for a verdict. Then the eldest elder spoke, voice softer now. "If he proves himself to your people and you prove the strength of your bond, perhaps your choice will be accepted. You may not be cast out if he survives the trials." Lyra's face lit with hope. "I will take any trial. I will endure whatever is required." The council deliberated, and then the challenge was announced. Ethan would have to navigate a series of tests designed to measure his courage, intelligence, and loyalty. These were no ordinary tests. They were simulators, exercises that replicated dangerous terrains, alien environments, and problem-solving under pressure. Success would prove his worth not just to Lyra, but to her people. The first test took place in a simulation chamber that mimicked a collapsing canyon, similar to the one where he had first rescued her. Crumbling rocks, sudden storms, and electrical hazards tested his reflexes. He moved quickly, relying on instinct and experience. Each step carried risk, each decision mattered. Lyra watched from an observation panel, her hand over the crystal mark on his chest, sending him encouragement across the invisible bond. The second trial tested his knowledge and empathy. He encountered holographic beings, simulations of her people in distress, and had to find solutions that balanced logic with compassion. Ethan solved each puzzle carefully, showing not only skill but understanding of values he had never known before. Lyra's eyes sparkled with pride as she saw him navigate each challenge, proving he was more than mere survival instinct. The third and final trial was the most dangerous. A simulated firestorm engulfed the chamber, forcing him to save hostages trapped in the chaos. Smoke and heat pressed down, but Ethan pressed on, guided by determination and memory of the canyon where he had first held her in his arms. He reached the final point, rescuing the last figure, a perfect replica of Lyra. The chamber doors opened and he collapsed, exhausted but triumphant. Lyra rushed to him, helping him to his feet. Her eyes glowed with warmth and admiration. "You did it. You passed every test. You proved your heart, your mind, and your courage." The eldest elder approached, his expression measured but respectful. "You have shown what many humans cannot. You honor your bond and protect your life partner. You have earned the acceptance of this council." Lyra turned to Ethan, her hands gripping his arms. "It is done. They cannot take my choice from me." Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of relief and joy pressing down on him. "Then let's go home together." The council watched as the two of them left the chamber, their bond now recognized, their courage proven. Outside, the city of crystal towers gleamed under the twin suns. Ethan looked at Lyra, still in awe of her strength and beauty. She smiled softly. "I told you I would return, and I knew you would," he said. Taking her hand, they stepped onto the observation bridge, looking out over the city, the fleet of ships in the distance, and the endless sky beyond. For the first time, Ethan felt at home, not on a deserted planet, not among endless canyons, but here, with Lyra by his side, a human and an alien bound by choice, courage, and trust. The golden mark on his chest pulsed faintly, a reminder that their bond was more than law or race. It was life, it was love, and it was something no one could ever erase. Together they faced the future, unknown, challenging, yet filled with possibility. Every step they took was shared. Every sunrise was brighter. And in that moment, Ethan realized that sometimes, saving a life was the first step to discovering a new world, a new heart, and a bond that would last across the stars. And so, from the canyon of survival to the heights of alien cities, their journey began anew. As two souls who had found each other against all odds, united by courage, trust, and the simple truth that life, when shared, became extraordinary.